Today, we're looking at a Mexican wine region that's basically hiding these world-class culinary gems just, about 90 minutes south of San Diego. If you think you know North American wine country, well, prepare to have your expectations completely rewritten. I mean, just imagine leaving polished, perfectly paved wine country behind for a place where rugged, semi-arid nature meets absolute gastronomic sophistication. Picture this. You're bouncing down an unpaved, dusty road, you're passing fields of boulders and olive trees, only to pull up to an architectural marvel serving up Michelin-starred tasting menus. That crazy contrast? That is the very heartbeat of Valle de Guadalupe. And this brilliantly illustrates our focus today. As the New York Times perfectly put it, the serene rusticity of the valley really has the feeling of a place rather than a playground. It's defined by its raw, authentic character, completely untamed by those strict traditional rules that govern classic European or even Californian wine regions. It's a place that literally asks you to just slow down, engage with the earth, and experience food and wine in its most unpretentious form. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, the Wild West of wine. Second, premier experimental wineries. Third, elite culinary destinations. And finally, essential travel tips. Let's dive right in.
Section 1, the Wild West of wine, where rules are pretty much optional.
Valle de Guadalupe actually produces about 90% of Mexico's wine, but it does so entirely on its own terms. Notice the stark contrast here. Unlike places like Napa or Bordeaux with their paved roads and grand chateaus, the Valley thrives on this ungoverned, kind of lawless creativity. Because there are no strict appellation rules dictating what grapes can be grown, winemakers can and do plant Tempranillo right next to Cabernet Sauvignon, right next to Chenin Blanc. And thanks to a dry Mediterranean microclimate, we're talking hot days, cold marine fog rolling in from the Pacific, and granite and clay soils, the grapes develop these incredibly concentrated flavors while still keeping all their acidity. And that exact climate, that's what gives rise to the famous Baja-Med Cuisine. Because the Mediterranean-like weather is just so perfect for olive trees, tomatoes, and herbs, chefs started combining those flavors with the incredibly fresh seafood pulled straight from the nearby Pacific coast. It's this beautiful, hyper-local fusion that pairs absolutely flawlessly with the region's rich, low-intervention wines.
All right, moving on to Section 2, premier experimental wineries, focusing on some true architectural marvels.
The elite wineries here really define the core of the valley. And honestly, their architecture alone is worth the trip. We're looking at 3 heavyweights right now, Vena Cava, Monte Xanic, and Bruma, that showcase stylistic contrast right next door to each other. From upcycled fishing boats to grand lakeside terraces to eco-resorts built directly into the earth, these estates offer vastly different but equally premium experiences.
First up, Vena Cava. This place captures the valley's scrappy modernism perfectly. Designed by architect Alejandro de Costa, you are literally tasting wine under a roof made from salvaged, upside-down fishing boats discarded from the nearby Ensenada port. It's wild. The winery, which is led by Phil Gregory, leans heavily into sustainable, experimental, natural wines. We're talking fantastic pet nots and orange wines.
Conversely, we have Monte Xanic, established back in 1987 by 5 friends who genuinely believed Mexico could produce world-class wine. They essentially pioneered the region's modern premium wine movement. When you visit Monte Xanic, you're greeted with this polished, pristine hacienda-style architecture, gorgeous lakeside views, and highly acclaimed Bordeaux-style blends. It's basically the valley's answer to classic, structured luxury.
And then there's Bruma. This estate beautifully bridges the gap between raw nature and striking contemporary design. The tasting room is an absolute architectural marvel, built directly into the earth, centered around this massive 300-year-old oak tree. Under the direction of celebrated enologist Lulu Martinez Ojeda, Bruma produces these elegant, terroir-focused bottles that just perfectly capture the unique minerality and that slight salinity of the valley's soil. Which brings us to Section 3, elite culinary destinations. Let's talk Michelin-Starred dining.
So this experimental winemaking spirit, it bleeds directly onto the plate, sparking a massive culinary explosion that actually caught the eye of the 2024 Michelin Guide. The food scene here easily rivals global capitals, with elite destinations like Fauna, Lunario, Deckman's, and Conchas de Piedra leading the charge in sustainable gastronomy. They completely prove that you do not need a stuffy white tablecloth, downtown metropolitan setting to deliver a truly world-class dining experience.
Let's start with Fauna, which is actually located right on the Bruma estate. Chef David Costo-Hassong and pastry chef Maribel Aldaco Silva offer these stunning, highly experimental dishes. I mean, imagine sharing a plate of smoked broccoli drizzled with chiltepin pepper oil or an intricate sweet corn semi-freddo, all served up at a massive, super lively communal table. It consistently ranks among Latin America's absolute best restaurants for a very good reason. Over at the Lomita Winery, you'll find Lunario. Here, Chef Sheila Alvarado earned both a Michelin star and a Michelin Green Star for sustainability. The dining space itself is this intimate greenhouse where you get to enjoy hyper-seasonal, plant-forward tasting menus inspired by the cycles of the moon. And what's really incredible is that her ingredients are sourced almost entirely from their sister farm, Finca La Carradilla. It ties the whole meal directly back to the local earth. Now, for raw, elemental sensory experiences, absolutely nothing beats our next two spots. Deckman's in Megor, run by Michelin-starred chef Drew Deckman, features this massive outdoor wood fire grill situated right under giant pine trees. And then, right next door to the Casa de Piedra winery is Conchas de Piedra. Here, you can literally just sit outside overlooking the valley, pairing local Bahia Falsa oysters and geoduck clams with glasses of crisp, locally made, sparkling wine. Okay, moving to Section 4, Essential Travel Tips. Let's talk about how to actually plan your visit. So, how do you turn this dream trip into a reality without, well, getting stuck in the mud? There are a few absolute non-negotiables. First off, proximity is definitely on your side. It's just 90 minutes south of San Diego. But because these top spots are so highly exclusive, you absolutely must book your tastings and meals months in advance. You simply cannot just walk in on a Saturday afternoon and expect to grab a seat at Fauna or Bruma. It's just not going to happen. Furthermore, you really need to prepare for those famous, rugged, unpaved roads. The absolute best advice I can give you is to hire a private driver through a service like Baja Vino. They handle the border crossing for you, and most importantly, they save you the stress of trying to navigate unmarked dirt roads in the pitch dark after, a few glasses of Nebbiolo. This just lets you focus entirely on the sensory experience rather than worrying about destroying the suspension on your rental car. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. In a world of highly regulated wine regions, we've seen Michelin stars awarded to chefs cooking over open campfires and world-class wines poured under roofs made of old fishing boats. So, does the absolute magic of food and wine ultimately thrive best when you completely throw out the traditional rulebook? It is definitely something to think about, and for sure, something worth traveling to Valle de Guadalupe to taste for yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.